I, 26, female, married my husband Eric, 27, male, around 2 years ago. We were high school sweethearts and dated for almost 10 years before marrying each other. My childhood was tragic because I was orphaned by the age of 10. I was a tough kid to manage till I met Eric. Eric understood me so well, making it easy for me to consider him my family. I still vividly remember our first meeting. We met on the first day of ninth grade. I didn't have many friends and was sitting alone in the cafeteria. Though I felt lonely and scared, I didn't show it outside. Eric was sitting at a nearby table with his friends. He might have noticed the uneasiness with which I sat alone. So he got up and walked over to me. I was generally called unapproachable by my previous classmates, but Eric made our first interaction very easy. He was straightforward and introduced himself. I could sense a feeling of shyness engulfing me, but thankfully, I was not tongue-tied while telling my name. He asked me whether he could sit at my table, and I happily obliged. He sat down next to me and started chatting straight away. He asked me where I was from, what I liked to do, and what classes I had. He was friendly and funny. He made me laugh and felt comfortable. He introduced me to his friends who were also nice to me. He invited me to join them if I wanted. I felt so secure with him and his friends, so I joined his friends group. That was how our friendship began, and we soon became inseparable. We hung out every day after school and went out together. We shared everything, our hobbies, our dreams, our fears, our secrets. He was the first person who made me feel like I belonged somewhere. He was the first person who made me feel loved. This was even before we fell in love with each other. Eric was the first person who made me feel something more than friendship. I realized I had a crush on him when we were in 10th grade. He still treated me like his best friend, but sometimes he would look at me in a way that made my heart skip a beat. I didn't know if he felt the same way about me. I was afraid to tell him how I felt because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I had grown so close to him that I couldn't even think about losing his presence in my life. This confusion continued for the next few months. But while we were in 11th grade, Eric confessed his love to me on Valentine's Day. It was a sweet gesture because he surprised me with a bouquet of roses and a box of chocolates. By the night's end, we were both filled with so much love that we had our first kiss. We both said I love you to each other before hugging again. We were sure of our love for each other that night and started dating. It didn't feel much different because we were still best friends, but had more love for each other. We graduated from high school together and went to the same college. We moved in together after college and got married 2 years ago. When we started dating, I thought Eric had a perfect life. From the outside, it appeared like he had a lovely house and an equally lovely mother. He only talked very little about his father, who had left them a few years ago. He said his father was a jerk who didn't care about them. He appeared very attached to his mother, and from the little that I heard about her, she appeared like a saint who raised him alone and sacrificed everything for him. I had met his mother a couple of times, and she was always nice to me. She seemed like a kind and generous woman. But one night, I learned everything I believed to be true about Eric's mother was wrong. Eric looked pale and shaken when he came to meet me that night. He said he had something to tell me. Eric told me that he loved me so much and that I deserved to know the truth about his past. He took a few deep breaths and told me that his father didn't leave his mother because he was a jerk. His mother had multiple affairs while being married to his father, and he forgave her each time he discovered one. But one day, when he realized that his wife wouldn't change, he left silently. His mother lied to everyone and said she was the one who left him as he was abusive. She made him look like the bad guy and play the victim. Eric's father badly wanted his son to grow up with him, but his wife took everything away from him. I saw Eric's eyes welling up as he opened up to me. Eric had a vague idea about all of this, but he had no source to acquire the proper information until his father contacted him on Facebook. Eric also told me that he had seen his mother dating people for their money and often leaving them after her use. She had barely taken care of him while he was young and always left him at her mother's place while she went out partying. Eric confirmed the story by talking to his grandmother, who told him that everything his father told him was true. She was also ashamed of her daughter. Eric was shocked to listen to all this. He knew that his mother was not perfect, but now he learned that she was a manipulator and liar. He hated her for making him hate his father for so long, using her lies. Eric was crying like a baby by the time he finished his story. Eric hated his mother after he came to know the truth, but he was still under her grip as she often guilt-tripped him by saying that she sacrificed her life for his well-being. Eric was forced to give a huge chunk of his earnings each month to his mother. He endured it for the next few years and even after he moved out. She forced him to stay close to her house. By the time we were going through our wedding preparations, it had become clear to me that Eric hated his mother's presence. His mother had married a rich man a couple of years ago. Eric was angry that she didn't even ask his opinion about her marriage. Eric knew that she married his stepdad for his money. All these events increased the hatred Eric had for his mother. His mother continued to lie about his father and even told her new husband that Eric's father was abusive. So when I got married to Eric, the first thing we did was move as far away from his mother as possible. It helped Eric's mental health very well. We moved to a different state and started a new life together. We bought a cozy apartment and found good jobs. We also reconnected with Eric's father, who lived nearby. He was a kind gentleman who loved us both unconditionally. He soon became part of our family. We had ignored all advances by Eric's mother to contact us, but one day she showed up at our door unannounced. She lied to us that she was in town for business because we knew that she had come specifically to meet us. She said she missed us and wanted to talk to us. She promised us that she had completely changed. She had come to our apartment to invite us to dinner with her husband. When she left, we gave the dinner invitation a serious thought. Since she had taken the trouble to come to our house to invite us, we decided to go for dinner, but the dinner was horrible. During dinner, Eric's mother accused me of stealing her son away from her. After ranting about me and Eric, she came up with a ridiculous demand. She wanted us to buy her a diamond ring for Mother's Day if we wanted her to forgive us for not being good to her. For me, this was the last nail in the coffin as I lost all my patience and got up from my seat. Eric didn't stop, so I stood up and listed every horrible thing she had done in the past. I told Eric's stepdad that she had cheated on her ex-husband. I also told him that she had married him for his money. We felt sorry for her husband, who was shocked and hurt by the truth. He apologized to us and thanked us for telling him. We didn't stay there any longer to see the drama unfold. Am I the a-hole for getting back at my mother-in-law? Update 1. After we left, Eric's mother called us multiple times. She texted relentlessly, but we didn't respond. After a while, her text took the tone of threats. She went as far as to say that we both would die childless. Her words deeply hurt Eric, so I took his phone and blocked her contact from it. Eric was sad about the whole thing, but he told me that this was supposed to happen someday. Update 2. The next day, when we met Eric's father, I told him the whole story. He was frightened at first, but by the end of the story, he was laughing his heart out. He felt like we had gotten back at her for what she did to him. His reaction to the story cleared the residue of guilt that I had been feeling about the incident. Update 3. A week later, Eric's stepdad called him and expressed his desire to talk to me. He wanted to thank me for telling him the truth. He had suspected something was wrong with his wife, but he had ignored his instincts. He said he would file for divorce as soon as possible and cut her off from his life. She deserves this for the sins that she had committed in the past. YTA. A mother has the power to scold her son. You interrupted her because you knew that she was telling the truth. You had stolen her son away from her by settling in a different state. You were rude to that poor old mother, so you're the a-hole. NTA. Abusive parents really make your life hell by not changing their character. The only solution is to stay far away from them and cut contact with them. Next story. I, 24, male, know that a lot of people just look at the title and just say that I'm in the wrong because of the stigma, but hear me out. It is winter where I live, so I'm consistently cold and not really sweating or anything. I usually shower when I feel gross, and it usually takes me 5 to 6 days before I actually start to feel gross. I'm not crazy. In the summer, when it's hot and sticky, I shower every 2 to 3 days like normal, but it just doesn't feel necessary in the winter. Anyway, the inciting incident here was on Sunday. I was ordering more shampoo and commented on how the price had almost doubled since the last time. My girlfriend, 29, female, asked when I last ordered it, and it was sometime in mid-2020. She was shocked. How did it take you almost 3 years to go through a bottle of shampoo? I told her that I don't use a lot, and eventually we got into how frequently I showered, and she acted like I was crazy. She didn't even know that I was averaging 1 shower a week because I keep good hygiene. I groom myself regularly and wear deodorant, so I don't think anyone can really tell the difference. Then my girlfriend, we'll call her Granite, starts going on about, oh, that explains the smell, and stuff like that. I totally think she was just making it up at this point. I've been dating her for 2 years and she's never commented about smell or anything. There's no way she just happened to decide that I smell bad now that she knows my shower schedule. She's just trying to shame me. We argued for a while about it and then she went home. Today, I saw my mom, 56, female, for lunch, and I told her about it. She agreed with me that it's fine and that she's never thought that I looked greasy or unclean. My mom also said that I should consider showering at least a couple of times a week if Granite has a problem with it, but if she can't actually tell the difference, why bother? I'm considering trying to say that I'm showering every other day, but keeping my normal routine. If she can actually tell the difference, she will know. But if not, then it's just a little white lie. Is this wrong for me to do? Am I a supervillain just because I'm not following the societal norm? I remember reading that overshowering can cause head lice, but no one even talks about that. Reddit, has anyone else been in a similar scenario? Edit. Hey everyone, appreciate the comments from people who were kind and tactful in their replies. I've done some research after seeing the overwhelming amount of responses, and I am going to start showering more to prevent the buildup of harmful bacteria. Also, some people pointed out that I accidentally said granite for the fake name. I'm dyslexic and meant to put garnet, lol. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Hope you all have a good night. YTA. Look, I only shower every 2 to 3 days too. It's better for skin and hair moisture. Can't find anything about lice though, and I don't know where you're in so much contact with lice that it's a concern. But your girlfriend is much closer to much smellier parts of your body than your mom is. It is entirely possible she's been playing down your smell so she didn't embarrass you. Now that she knows it's a stubborn choice at her expense, she's not going to power through. If you're worried about your skin, make them cold showers and moisturize after. YTA, the problem with BO or bad breath and stuff like that is the people who have it are oblivious to it. You think your girlfriend was being passive aggressive, but in reality, she was probably embarrassed to tell it to your face until you came clean, pun intended. There's no way on earth someone's hair doesn't get greasy, balls don't get sweaty after a week without showering, and antiperspirants aren't a replacement for showering. Please show me a deodorant that says 120-hour protection on the label. YTA. A shower takes 10 minutes. Your girlfriend has been tolerating the smell for 2 years, afraid to upset you by saying something. What kind of voodoo science believes showering could cause parasites? Next story. English is not my first language, so sorry if there is a lot of wrong with my grammar. I lost my right eye to cancer in my earlier teens. It was a struggle to adapt, but 13 years later, I am pretty much used to it. Now I hate wearing a prosthetic eye. I have 3 prosthetic eyes I have gotten over the years, but due to scar tissue in my eye socket that healed weird, the prosthetics rubs against it and makes me incredibly uncomfortable. So I usually just wear an eye patch instead. This obviously brings the attention of most people. Over the 13 years, I have gotten used to people asking about it, but I still find it annoying. It's not so much the asking how I lost my eye that bugs me. It is the fact that every time when I give a short answer to that question, basically just telling them I had cancer, people start asking rather personal questions about it. These people asking are not friends. They're people I know besides seeing them in class or on campus. I personally don't get why people think it's okay to go up and ask someone you don't know something so personal. So when I ended up transferring to a new university and I just didn't want to deal with all that again, so I started making up weird stories as to how I lost my eye. One that made people uncomfortable enough not to dig any further. I figure if they felt they had the right to make me feel uncomfortable, then why shouldn't I be able to do the same to them? So as the time went on and people kept asking about it, the stories as to how I lost my eye became more and more ridiculous. I'm honestly shocked that people believed half of them. For example, I actually told someone that it was because my sister poked it out with a pencil when I was a kid and our dog ate it. Yeah, someone actually believes that. Well, eventually, everyone found out the stories I had been telling were not true, and now a few people are mad. One of my friends thinks I went too far, but honestly, I just don't get why people think they deserve the backstory to someone else's trauma. I'm not a TV show character here for your entertainment. I'm a person who had to completely change her life to adapt, and it wasn't easy. AITA for making up ridiculous stories as to how I lost my eye because I'm tired of people asking? 100% NTA. I do this with scars. It's funny, and honestly, this is so minor in the grand scheme of things. However, maybe next time just elbow someone or say it very sarcastically, or come up with a totally impossible story for aliens, ninjas. NTA, if you were misleading your friends and partners, that would be one thing. Even then, it would be harmless, just kind of rude. But if I had an injury or disability and strangers, casual acquaintances, kept badgering me with questions, I do the same as you. That, or I just bluntly tell them to frick off. You're not harming anyone with your stories, and the people you're telling them to have no particular right to know the truth, so you're good. NTA. I'm a big fan of a well-crafted lie. The best ones, IMO, are the ones that are so ridiculous that they just have to be true. How about, I was sunbathing one afternoon and I got hit in the face by a block of ice expelled from the toilet of a passing passenger jet cruising at 10,000 meters. That'd put them off their nice cold drinks. Alternatively, you could reply to them asking about it by saying, I'm happy to tell you about it, but first, please tell me about some intimate detail relating to your body. Next story. I, 20, female, am a college student living with four roommates in a shared off campus house. One of my four roommates is not actually a roommate on our lease, but one of my other roommates' boyfriends. I'm not happy about this, but it is what it is. We'll call the boyfriend roommate Kevin, 21 male. I had a paper due at 11:59 one night last week that I was really late on getting started on. So to say I was on a time crunch would be an understatement. Around a little after 7, Kevin comes into my room and asks me if I could drive him to his work that is about 20 to 25 minutes away because he left his laptop there and he had a quiz that he needed to take that was due that night. I apologized and told him that I couldn't do it because I had a deadline. He proceeded to ask me if he could just use my car, and I said no. When he asked why, I told him because the car belongs to my parents and they don't want anyone else driving it but me. Kevin got very angry and told me that I was being unreasonable because it would only take about 45 minutes and we'd be back home before 8, and that if he took my car, he was just going to go straight there and back. I said that I was sorry, but I couldn't help him. And he sulks out of my room and slammed the door. I actually started to feel really bad and was going to offer to take a break after I got to a good point in my paper to take him, but then I heard him in the next room complaining to his girlfriend on the phone about me and calling me all kinds of nasty names. So I just put my headphones in and concentrated on my paper. About an hour passed by, and he comes back into my room and asks me if I could send him money for an Uber to go pick up his laptop. I said, no, why would you take money from an a-hole, and basically repeated all the names he called me. He then tried to apologize and say that he was just stressed out and he didn't mean it. I said no again, and he lost it. I packed up my laptop and some clothes and went to my boyfriend's house to stay the night and finish my paper, which I finally managed to submit at like 11:45, thankfully. When I came back the next day, my roommate, who is Kevin's girlfriend, yelled at me for making Kevin miss an assignment when he gave me 3 options to help him. We ended up fighting and things have been tense in the house ever since. One of our other roommates thinks that I didn't do anything wrong, but the other roommate thinks I should have just helped Kevin to keep the peace in the house. I kind of feel like an a-hole for making things in the house tense and making Kevin's grade in that class lower. It would have been less effort to take him than it is to deal with all the fighting and awkwardness. NTA, why on earth was it your responsibility to pay for his Uber? And they considered that an option that you could have used to help him? Really? Why couldn't his girlfriend or parents send him money for an Uber? You're supposed to be the ATM? Seriously? These people are fricked up. NTA, you should have a house meeting and make it clear you are not responsible for Kevin. You should also be very clear that you will not tolerate verbal abuse ever, and if Kevin wants to continue staying in the house, he must apologize. If he refuses, bring up the issue that he is not on the lease, and if he continues to cause problems, you will inform the landlord. This is a control issue that Kevin feels he has any right to make demands of you. Don't let him make this behavior acceptable. Don't try to be nice to keep the peace. NTA. Oh, sweet child, you did not make things in the household tense. Kevin did that with his boundary stomping. He is not entitled to use your car. He is not entitled to take money from you to pay for his Uber. And he is not entitled to verbally abuse people who tell him no. It is time for him to get kicked out of the house, seeing as he isn't on the lease. If the roommates won't back you up, I'd suggest an anonymous tip-off call to the landlord. Stay tuned for more stories from Our Girl Relationships.